Hello everyone. Today we are going to talk about aggregate functions. We'll be covering this topic in three parts. First, we'll get the basic understanding of what the aggregate functions are. Next, we'll solve a few SQL problems that will concrete our understanding. We'll see a few queries, what the questions are, and we'll try to solve them. And third, you all must be knowing how Chat GPT has become popular nowadays. So by the end of this video, we'll try to see if Chat GPT can write SQL queries. If you are more interested in ChatGPT, you can directly go to the end portion of this video, or you can go with the flow. I would recommend going with the flow so that you have a better understanding of the aggregate functions and you can know better how to leverage ChatGPT in order to solve your queries. So let's start. So aggregate functions are nothing but a mathematical operation which is applied to a set of values in order to give a single result. Let's see, let's look at this from a particular example. Suppose you have this particular table where you have ID, name of the students, the subjects, and the marks they have obtained in those particular subjects. When we look at this data, there are a bunch of questions that come to our mind. So, when we look at this data, there are a bunch of questions that come to our mind. These are: how many students or subjects are there? What is the class average of each student in the class? What is the average marks of each student in the class? Who scored maximum or minimum in the class? Similarly, we can have multiple other questions like what is the total marks obtained? What is the sum of all the marks obtained in the class? And so on. So these are basically the aggregate functions that we're talking about. These basically take in a multiple set of values and they give a particular output. We'll try to solve these questions on SQL by writing a few queries. So to do that, let's go to the SQL workbench. So let's look at these questions. The first question is, how many students or subjects are there? So in order to find this, we'll look at this particular table called results. So this has the same data which we saw in that particular table. I have created a table and inserted the data into this. In case you want to understand how, you can look at this particular video here, which was the first one that I created. So it has these four columns, which is ID, name, subject, and marks. And we want to find out how many students or subjects are there. This is very simple. We can basically use select, count, distinct ID, which will tell us the how many distinct names of the students are there because each ID represents one student. Count, distinct subject in order to find out the total number of subjects there from the table name, which is results. When we run this query, we'll be getting this particular output, which is there are four subjects. There are basically four students and three subjects. We can assign an alias name, so that the results are better as student and here as subjects. So the total number of students are four and total number of subjects is three. The next question is, what is the class average for each subject? Here my query will be slightly different. I'll have to use group by in order to get the result. So let's see. So I'll be writing select subject, comma. I have to get the average, so I'll write average of marks from the table name, which is results. But because I have to get the average marks for each of the subjects, I'll have to use group by because otherwise it will just give one. It will be incorrect. So there are two ways of doing this. I can either use group by one or I can use group by subject. Either of those methods will work. So if I run this, I'll be getting this, getting the average marks for each of the subjects. What we can see from here is just that students have scored higher marks in science. The next question is, what is the average marks of each student in the class? The method will be same here. Actually, we can use the previous query and we can make some modifications. So instead of subjects, we'll need to have something else here. And As you want to find out the average marks of each student, we can either use ID or name. So let's use name here. And when we do this, we can find out who has scored, what is the average score of each of the students. So we can see that in terms of average, Tony has scored the highest, then it's Peter, Groot, and Bruce. Bruce and then Groot. So by this time, you must have noticed the use of group by clause. This group by clause actually gives an instruction to group the data by name and apply this particular average function on this particular column. We can also use group by 1, group by 2 as well. But for that, we need to specify another column by which the aggregate function can be applied on. So coming on to the last question, who scored maximum or minimum in the class? So here we would have to use minimum or the maximum function, and we'll follow the same steps as we did in the earlier question. I'll be not I'll not be writing the query here, and would love to know your answer. Please put your answer in the comments. Would love to see them. So now coming on to the favorite part of my video, which is Chat GPT. So let's ask Chat GPT whether it can answer our questions, whether it can write SQL queries. So my first question is, hey Chat GPT, can you write SQL query? Oh yes, it is. It can write SQL queries. So let me feed some data to the Chat GPT in order to see the results. So I have when I this is the table that I have. So let me ask this. Can you find out the average for each subject by writing a SQL query? Yeah, so what we can see here is ChatGPT can actually write a lot of queries. Oh, it has solved the, oh my God, it has solved the question also. It has given the result as well. It has not specified the table name, but has given everything that we wanted. Oh, now I'm really afraid whether ChatGPT is going to take away all the job of data analysts. This is amazing. Basically, ChatGPT can give the answers. So, but the important thing to note here is you should know the basics. You should understand what the basics are, and according to that, you can leverage ChatGPT to answer the questions that you have in mind. So, I hope you like this video, especially this particular portion where ChatGPT was able to solve all our questions. Uh, and if you did like this video, do subscribe to the channel. You can also like this video. You can mention your comments. And especially, I want to know what was your answer for the maximum mark scored by any of the students. Who scored the maximum? That's all for today. I'll see you in the next video. Thanks.